Are you ready to talk about boot camps? Well, our industry expert, Bryce Henson, is here to discuss all things boot camp. Be ready to be inspired by his story on how he grew his boot camp business into a multi-location success. Hang on tight as the Fitness Business Podcast brings you another educational episode. If you have gotten any value out of our shows, tell us by sharing it, tagging us on any of our social media platforms. Welcome, FBP family. I am your host, Dory Nugent, and today's guest, Bryce Henson, will share valuable advice on starting and running a profitable bootcamp business. Bryce is the Chief Executive Officer for Fit Body Bootcamp, and boy, does he deliver some significant information today. You will hear from Bryce in about 2 minutes, but first, a huge thank you to Luke Carlson and Discover Strength for sponsoring this episode.
At Discover Strength Franchising, we know you want to own a thriving fitness business. We believe you should be able to do work that you are passionate about while also making a great living. Imagine owning a distinguished fitness business backed by a market-tested business model where efficient 30-minute strength workouts are provided to your clients by expert, educated personal trainers. Here's how to get started. Head to discoverstrengthfranchise.com and fill out the contact form. Set up a pre-qualification call with our franchise team. Join us for a mutual discovery day. So head to discoverstrengthfranchise.com so you can start falling in love with your work again.
Thank you so much, Discover Strength. And if you haven't checked out Discover Strength and their amazing team, go to www.discoverstrengthfranchise.com.
Get your pen ready now for Keep Me's Fit Bizpiration.
Bryce, what are your top 3 tips to launching a successful boot camp?
Ooh, $1 million question. So number one, it's taking a step back and actually creating a strategy behind that. And really, I'm a really big fan of reverse engineering the process and also modeling other success. And that's the value that we have in our franchise because we have a paint by numbers approach. But really, at the end of the day, you need to take a step back and actually reverse engineer what you're trying to do and how you're trying to launch. Number 2, you need to figure out what opening program that you're going to open with. So is it a free trial? Is it a 28-day program? Is it a 6-week challenge? Whatever the case may be, you just need to decide and be very clear on what's your opening program. So that way you can put a ton of resources from a marketing perspective behind that program to launch your business with success. And then lastly, you cannot be afraid to invest on social media and marketing. You need to put dollars out there into the marketplace. And typically speaking, what we recommend for our franchisees, a solid 10, if not 12 weeks of the marketing campaign. And we have a step ladder approach for different phases, but ultimately high level to answer your question. Just make sure that you're spending an ample amount of time marketing the pre-sale in order to have a very successful launch. Because if you don't do those 3 steps, you're going to be in a world of hurt. If you do, and if you do those well, you're going to launch with incredible success.
Next week, I interview Dr. Michelle Seeger, and we talk about her newest book, Joy Choice. After this week's full interview, I'll introduce you to Dr. Seeger, and you'll hear why you need to come back next week to hear her interview. MyZone has pioneered unique wearables with talking point technology that makes the difference. Reach more members of your community and keep them engaged for longer through motivation and gamification wherever they choose to work out. In the gym, at home, or outdoors, we're stronger together. Get in the zone at myzone.org. Let's transition into this week's interview with Bryce Henson. Bryce Henson is our guest today. I'm so excited to have Bryce on. It's his first time here at the Fitness Business Podcast. Bryce is the Chief Executive Officer for Fit Body Bootcamp. Bryce, are you ready to rock this podcast today or what?
Dory, thank you so much for having me. Let's rock it. That sounds like an awesome plan.
Yes, we are going to talk about, drum roll, boot camps and everything everybody wants to know about starting a boot camp. What do you think of that?
Well, thankfully, I came to the right podcast because I was worried, but you know what? I've been doing this for 10 years. So I hope I can add some value to you and your audience today.
Oh, you are our industry expert today, so you definitely will be adding value. That is for sure. So how did we get from Michigan to California?
Well, great question. I grew up in the Midwest in Michigan. Great place, amazing people, not necessarily the fitness capital of the world. So there I was, 21 years old, just put myself through school, hustled, came from very humble beginnings. But graduated from Michigan State, and for probably more than that, 4 years or more, Taco Bell and fast food is a staple of my diet. So there I was. I graduated. I moved to Southern California, excited, the palm trees, the blue skies, the beaches, Los Angeles, also the plastic capital of the world. So with very little business experience, life experience, 3,000 miles from home, I was definitely homesick. I definitely had some good days, but way more darker days than I want to admit. And it's because I wasn't a fit guy. So I lived that way for about a year and a half. I was contemplating, do I move back? Did I make the right decision? But thankfully, a fitness mentor, a guy I went to college with, a dear friend to this day, his name's Adam, moved to California, showed me how to train, how to lift weights, how to do introduction to circuit training, but most importantly, the value of coaching and accountability. Because without that, I don't necessarily think I would have transformed the way that I did. So thankfully, through his guidance, went through a massive physical transformation, dropped 20 pounds of body weight, put 20 pounds of muscle. But as your listeners know, fitness does way more than that. It changes your life. And it did that for me. And that was really my gateway to moving to California and really becoming fit, and then ultimately getting in the fitness industry.
Yeah, fitness certainly also changes your mind.
Totally. Mind, body, soul, like everything. It's the gateway drug. And I for me specifically, when clients tell me that, I can't afford this program, I'm certainly sensitive, but my response is, you can't not afford this program, because for me, it just gave me everything. I became the highest performing sales rep in my company, along a lot of list of accolades, just because of fitness. Again, mind, body, and soul. So couldn't agree with you more, Ms. Story.
All right. So Michigan State guy, did you say? Oh boy.
That's right. Big Spartan. I was hoping you weren't going to go Michigan Wolverine on me, but yes, Michigan State Spartan for sure.
We brought you on today as an industry expert. We have so many of our listeners put requests in to have guests that have had successful boot camps, or, have built successful boot camps. And, that's why you're on today. Your topic today is how to start a fitness boot camp. And I'd really like for you just to begin with giving all of our listeners your definition of what a boot camp is.
Yeah, great question. For me, a boot camp is defined as personal training in a group setting. So whether that's indoor, that's outdoor, there's a lot of variations. Our model here at Fit Body Bootcamp is indoors, super clean, outside of the elements, indoors, and we're able to produce the best results in that training environment. But really, at the end of the day, it's personal training in a group setting is how I would define a bootcamp model.
Yeah, I think that's a fair definition. It's funny because I feel like boot camp's one of those things. It's in, it's out, it's in, it's out. And I feel like, boy, it's real. It's kind of like kickboxing. They seem to be coming back with a vengeance. And I'd like to get your perspective on this, but I feel like COVID really kickstarted that outdoor boot camp again.
Yeah, I'm not totally sure actually on outdoor. That's not my line of focus, but I think what we've seen over the last 10 years is the gravitation away from big box concepts and actually towards boutique training. So whether that's indoor, outdoor, other boutique concepts like fitness, like kickboxing or rowing or whatever the case may be, a boutique kind of approach typically has a lot more accountability, a lot more coaching, and a lot more results. And for us here at Fit Body, it works a lot incredibly well indoors because it's outside of the element. We're able to have a self-contained location, and typically speaking, we're able to produce way more results. So that works for us.
Yeah. So I was going to ask you, do you prefer outdoor or indoor? But you already answered that question for me.
Totally. In fact, though, that said, with the caveat, or at least perspective, our model initially started outdoors. This is back in 2008, 2009, after the recession, the real estate market collapse. So our founder, I'm the CEO, newly minted in 2021. Our founder, Bejos Kulian, or B for short, dear friend of mine, business coach, mentor, started outdoor and with our original concept. But what we actually learned after scaling the outdoor business for a while, you had elements, you had the weather, and we live in Southern California. California. I know you're in Florida, which has nice weather, but not all parts of the country have nice weather year round. So we found that by bringing it inside, we're able to self-contain and really provide a better experience for our clientele. So we were outdoor, now we're indoor, and off we go.
So speaking of that better experience for your clientele, on an average, how many people are you entertaining in an indoor boot camp class?
Yeah, great question. So our typical locations typically have anywhere from 200 to 300 members on average, and any specific session is how we refer to them to instead of classes. And the reason that we do that is we want to separate ourselves from the big box concept where you get free classes, or let's face it, you talked about your daughter going to school. She might have skipped a couple classes in her day. I certainly did, but you don't skip a personal training session with a professional. So our sessions are typically anywhere from 25 to 35 people. It ranges. On the high end, we can, some of our locations can train up to 40 people. So it's a split, and also just depends on the morning, the evening. Weekends typically are very busy. So there's a few variables, but that just gives you a rough idea.
And I believe you told me before we even started this interview that you franchised your business and you're about 300 locations.
Yeah, that's right. So we have just over 300 locations. We're all in North America. 90% of our locations are in the US, and then 10% of our locations in Canada. But how I actually got started, well before I was the CEO, I was actually a Fit Body Bootcamp owner. So I launched my first location in Orange County, California in 2012. Ended up scaling to a handful of locations. And then in 2018, when our founder, Bedros, saw our brand really hockey sticking with hundreds of locations being added on, made me the offer and recruited me to be his initial vice president and then turn that to CEO. So I still have oversight on 2 of my locations in Orange County, but I also oversee the brand now with over 300 locations.
Oh, wow. So there has to be something awesome about what you're doing in those 4 walls. So I would just love for you to tell all of our listeners, what are your top 5 factors that make an awesome boot camp?
Yeah, great question. And I loved how you framed it, Dory, because there's something special. And I think that is really, really important to highlight and emphasize. I'll give you the top 5. I'm actually going to go, the 5th is actually the most important. But number 1, just strong programming. We're in the fitness industry, so you have to have strong programming. Typically speaking, we have 3 types of workouts. So we have a metabolic conditioning focused workout, which is really a fancy way of saying a more cardio focused workout. We have a resistance training workout, which is more strength-based and lifting weights. And then we have a classic workout, which is a blend of both. So strong programming is bullet point number 1. Bullet point number 2, you got to bring the energy, people. So your coaches have to be on fire, on the mic, because let's face it, at least for our clientele that we service at Fit Body Bootcamp, Mrs. Jones is our dream client, as we refer to her. She's a mom. She has a couple kids. She has some weight to lose. She's typically not a fitness athlete or trying to shave off a second on her 40-yard dash to make the NFL Combine. So because of that, we need to bring the energy, the motivation. So high energy is number 2. Number 3 is form coaching. At the end of the day, you need to be able to create a strong program on a daily basis that change, so your muscles have confusion and you get a better result. But you also have to make sure that you're providing your clientele proper form coaching, so they're doing the movements right, not only to maximize the results, but also to avoid injury. So that would be number 3, form coaching. Number 4 is nutrition coaching, because at the end of the day, yes, human movement is extremely important. As we talked about, it's great for the body and also mind and soul. But ultimately, most of our clientele are coming in looking for a body composition change, typically to lose weight. So nutrition is the majority or the factor that from a majority perspective is going to be that factor to change your client's body composition. So nutrition coaching is number 4. And then number 5, for sure, and I really want to kind of finish here because it is the most important, it's the relationships, it's the culture, it's the vibe. And Dory, you've been to a place probably where the vibe was a little off. Maybe they had good food at a restaurant or something like that, but it just didn't feel great, right? Well, the opposite also true. If you have a great culture, great vibe, you can make up for a lot, of other weaknesses. And certainly you want to shore up all your programs to the best of your ability. But really number 5 is strong relationships, strong culture, and really a strong vibe in your location. So those are the 5 factors that I've seen in my 10 years of experience that really equate to an incredible boot camp, an incredible business, and really incredible client experience.
Yeah, I can't agree with you more on number 5, because it's like you said, your majority of your clientele is, again, just the average fitness the person just looking to lose some weight. Like you said, they're not looking to shave time off to go to the NFL Combine. That majority isn't like screaming to go to the gym. There's always that little hesitation. So in order to really keep the crowd coming and keep your clientele coming back, you do have to build the relationships and the energy. I think the energy is another one that's super important.
Oh, totally. And Dory, what I also say too, especially when we're training our franchisees, our new owners, our coaches and leaders in the brand, and this is a very common misconception that I'm in the fitness industry, I'm in the coaching industry, I'm in the health industry, I'm in the nutrition industry. Those are all things that you do, but first and foremost, primarily, you are in the people industry, in the people business, you're in the relationship business. And if you lose sight of that, you lose sight of everything.
For sure. And as I sit here and I listen to you and I look through your top 5, I mean, really, it is hard to say one is more important or not as more important, because if you got to have good form or you're going to get hurt and you're not coming back, So nutrition, obviously you can't be coming to boot camp and going home and stopping at McDonald's for the Big Mac and the big gulp on the way home. So it's amazing how it all has to work together. It's like a well-oiled machine.
Totally.
All right, so we're going to move on from our 5 factors that make an awesome boot camp. And I want to ask you, because we do get this question a lot, and that is about pricing. Could you tell our listeners how you there at Fit Body Boot Camp do your pricing?
Yeah, that's an incredible question. And we've changed and evolved throughout the years. When we first started, we went monthly payments, which we still have an option if a client really wants to go that route. But really our model now is weekly payments. So typically speaking, someone tries our program, either a free trial or a 28-day jumpstart program, which typically ranges anywhere from $67 to $97 to try for a full 4 weeks. And that really gives Mrs. Jones, or our dream client, a taste of an experience of what the experience at boot camp's like. And then after that 28-day low barrier offer or trial program, we upgrade our clientele, or Mrs. Jones, as we like to refer to her, to a client. And typically our first tier of membership is a 12-week membership, and we do weekly payments. And the reason that we ask for 12 weeks is just enough time to actually show Mrs. Jones or our clientele results. Now, are they going to absolutely rapidly transform their body? No, but they're probably going to start seeing some changes. And as Tony Robbins is famously quoted, progress equals motivation. So if we can get Mrs. Jones to see some progress, she's going to be more motivated to continue. And that's the reason that we have our initial membership length of time, 12 weeks. And again, our pricing is on a weekly basis.
Okay, that's great. And, listen, the Fitness Business Podcast, we're an educational podcast. That's what we focus on. And I love when business owners come on and not only talk about how great their business is and how wonderful it is and how they're thriving, but I love when business owners talk about, hey, we've had to go through trials and errors. We've made mistakes. We've learned from our mistakes. So I appreciate that you say that you've changed and evolved over the years that you've been in business.
Yeah, totally. And what we've also learned as well is for weekly payments, they're a little bit more manageable from a client's perspective. The perceived value of, we'll say, a $35 a week versus $150 a month, even though it's roughly the same price, the perceived cost is higher for a monthly payment versus the perceived value, and I guess value is better for the weekly payment. So that's the reason we made that kind of shift. The additional thing, and speaking of like an education perspective, especially being that most of our clients pay on reoccurring credit card, or EFT for short, electronic funds transfer. If a credit card gets declined, if there's theft, if someone loses their credit card or fraud, and you can't collect that payment when your system runs, it's much better to actually know very quickly and to be able to collect a smaller payment of $35 a week versus letting it go a month and having to collect $150, which is just a tougher pill to swallow. So those reasons and more are the reasons that we shifted and evolved, to your point, Dory, from monthly to weekly payments.
Yeah, that's great. And we'd love to hear the changes that you made. I'm sure many of our listeners will be reaching out to you to just get a little bit more information about your pricing, as we do find that's always a hot topic. So
yeah, of course.
Speaking of hot topics, the next one always is about marketing. So many people struggle with marketing. How do you get the word out? And once you get the word out, how do you keep the hype through your marketing? Could you talk a little bit about how you market the boot camp?
Yeah, incredible question. And really, marketing is the top of the spear. So from an owner perspective, what we teach our ownership is when they first get in the business, they're typically doing a lot of the job functions. They're doing the marketing, they're doing the sales, they're going to do the administration, they're going to do some coaching, HR and finance. But ultimately, as the business grows, the owner is going to peel off and really hire on, people that can fill the coaching bucket, fill the finance bucket, fill the, sales bucket. But really, from a marketing perspective, that's one of the major tasks that the owner still should have influence, because really everything starts with marketing. If you don't have people coming through your doors, then your operations, then your coaching, then your administration, nothing else matters. So marketing is the key function that typically owners should always have influence and take underneath their control and their accountability. But ultimately, there's a wide variety of ways of market. So, if you have a funnel as an example, for a 28-day program or whatever offer that you're running, Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest. I mean, these are all places that you should have a very strong social media presence and be able to put dollars behind that funnel to basically attract new leads. So that's a really, really important, marketing play from a social, media paid traffic perspective. Also organic, posting. So you should be, taking pictures and getting testimonials from clients and constantly, posting that on your Facebook page and your Instagram page as an example, because a lot of marketing is actually content creation. So, those are, a couple different, hot topics and strategies to really focus in on. The third aspect is referrals. And at the end of the day, you need to have a strong culture of referrals at your location, because referrals, you're going to have the highest quality of prospect, because they're already pre-sold. They've already, been discussed, about your program from their friend, from their family, from their coworker. So they're pre-sold. But the key is that, number one, you need to ask. And number two, you need to create an awesome culture and awesome workout experience. Because if you actually take a step back and you think about it from a marketing perspective and a human, dynamic perspective, when someone's referring your boot camp or a restaurant or a movie, at the end of the day, that person is putting their name and their reputation on the line. So if that experience for their friend is not exceptional, okay, they're going to lose a little street cred, okay, and their ego is going to be potentially hurt in reputation, if you will. So it's very, 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 very important that you provide incredible client experience, that energy, those relationships, because when you do, then you're going to increase the amount of referrals that come through, because your clientele are going to feel more confident that they can put their name or reputation on the line. And the last thing, not only from a programming perspective and a client experience perspective, you should incentivize referrals. So we at Fit Body Bootcamp have a referral program called Refer and Earn. So every time a client brings in with their family and friends, they can hop on a free trial and their name is entered to win a $100 raffle at the very end, or $100 drawing at the end of the month. And so at the end of the day, you need to have an awesome program. You need to have strong relationships. You need to ask for the referral, but you also need to incentivize the referral as well. And really, we could probably talk for days about marketing, but that three-pronged approach of paid traffic, organic traffic, and referral marketing, is really, really foundational and fundamental and critical to our Fit Body Bootcamp owner success.
And I want to thank you for going into a little depth on your referral program, what you guys do and how you go about that. That's always, again, another popular question amongst our FBP family when it comes to referrals.
Yeah, totally. And one more thing on that too, you got to make it a big deal. So we raffle off $100. So we have like fake $100 bills. We just get all excited. We have people come in. We're taking pictures with the winner. We're sending that picture on our social media channels and our weekly broadcast. So you got to your point, Dore, I used one of your taglines, the hype. You got to build the hype, and you really got to sell the sizzle and not just the steak, as a famous adage goes in marketing. So you got to hype it up and really make your members feel like really, really special.
I agree. Again, it all goes back to energy, right? Got to have the energy.
That's it.
Yeah. And listen, I love that you make it a visual, because I think that's so important, because if not, people just leave and they forget about referring and, do I even get anything? But yeah, who doesn't like a nice, crisp $100 bill?
Totally. Hype it up, get excited, make them feel like $1 million, even though you're giving 100, but at the end of the day, it's value there. And that's the secret sauce for sure.
For sure. And I love the fact, I'm going to use this as your quote. I love that you said you need to have a strong culture of referrals. Keyword being culture. I like that. Is there one more key piece of advice that you would give, or do you have something that really works at Fit Body Boot Camp or a piece of advice that maybe you learned along the way, even if it was, something negative you turned into positive?
Oh, I mean, many learning lessons and trials and tribulations. And while, I just talked about, scaling multiple locations and becoming the vice president, CEO, and all these awesome accolades that people tell me and I feel very proud of, at the end of the day, I mean, humbling myself, I've made so many mistakes and continue to do so. And I think, there's value in failing forward and learning from your mistakes, having a white belt mentality and really, getting a group of people around you. And really, that's my last message. When I first got in the business, I was fired up as I was a fitness coach. It changed my life. I, helped people do, training on the nights and weekends. And I was so excited to launch my first boot camp. And I did. And certainly, there was a lot of success we had. But the one thing that if I could, fast forward rewind the clock, if you will, to my younger version of myself 10 years ago and starting the location, the biggest point of focus would be develop your leadership skills. Because at the end of the day, while I'm excited on fitness, and that's great, and yes, it's great to be a nutrition coach and be able to great at programming and connecting with people, really at the end of the day, everything in your business rises and falls on leadership. And number one, you need to lead yourself because your clients are not going to follow you if you're not in shape and if you're not energetic, if you're not motivating. So you have to lead yourself. Then number two, you need to lead your clients because at the end of the day, you are the fitness expert. So clients are coming to you looking for your leadership, looking for your guidance. But then once you grow and scale your business, the really caveat, which I really missed the mark for a while, is you have to lead your team. And at the end of the day, leadership is just a skill. It's an acquired skill. It takes focus, time, and learning. And there's a lot of resources out there. Jocko Willink is a huge mentor from afar from mine. John Maxwell as well. But really understanding and learning leadership principles is foundational and fundamental to your success if you really want to grow your boot camp and ultimately your business and your life. So that would be the last kind of bullet point that, take it from me, which I made many learning lessons along the way. I didn't fully understand the value of leadership. Now I do, and it's made all the difference.
Thank you so much, Bryce, for joining me today. I can only imagine, FBP family, that you have a ton of questions for Bryce. So please head over to our show notes at www.fitnessbusinesspodcast.com for Bryce's contact details. Oh, and did you know that when you subscribe to our show, we'll deliver the show directly to your inbox? Yes, head on over to fitnessbusinesspodcast.com to subscribe to the show. Now, in 30 seconds, I'll introduce you to next week's guest, Dr. Michelle Seeger.
G'day, it's JT here, and I was talking to Blair McCaney, the CEO of one of our sponsors, MX Metrics, the other day, and I gave him a hard time about his company's tagline, defeating mediocrity. By definition, that means he's excluding the majority of the market. But Blair just wouldn't budge. He only wants to work with operators who want to punch mediocrity in the face, really smash it. So I've talked to a few of his customers, like Joe Shirelli from Gainesville Health and Fitness, and yeah, it's for real. While Joe is a nice guy, he isn't satisfied with mediocrity either. He's crushing it as well. So I'm still dubious about selling only to operators who want to defeat mediocrity. But if this resonates with you, I reckon you should check them out. Go to mxmetrics.com. But remember, only if you're interested in smashing mediocrity.
Quickfire 5.
Dr. Michelle Seeger, author of No Sweat and Joy Choice, will be here next week. Let's find out more about Dr. Michelle and why our FBP family needs to tune in to her episode. Dr. Michelle Seeger is here, and she's joining us for our quick fire 5 questions, as she is going to be next week's industry expert. Michelle, welcome to the quick fire 5.
It's great to be here. Thanks.
So excited. We talked last week on the phone, so I've been waiting patiently for you to come on, and I'm going to ask you a couple fun questions just to kind of get a pulse and a tempo on your personality. So let's have some fun. First question is, what was a life lesson that you learned during the pandemic?
I think I learned the importance of staying connected to people, friends and family, even if we couldn't spend time together inside. But I think the connection piece was really big for me.
Good, great answer on that one. And if you could play a character in any movie, now we all know there's a lot of movies out there. Which character would you like to play?
That is such a hard question, but I think I'm a big fan of Sandra Bullock's, and I think playing Leanne in The Blind Side, I liked the gumption she had, and also just that she stood up for what she believed in, even if it went against the grain with her community.
I'm with you. It was such a great movie. She's just an overall excellent actress, and it seems like she's a pretty good human being as well.
Yes.
Great choice on that one. Now let's complete this sentence. Sunday morning, you can find me
drinking a strong cup of black coffee and eating a scone.
Okay.
Fresh baked. Happy day.
Happy day. Good way to start your day. And how about a book recommendation for all of our FBP family out there?
A new book that I'm really loving is called Unwinding Anxiety by Judson Brewer. He is a neuroscientist, and his work on anxiety is just really groundbreaking, and I think people should read it.
And Michelle, finally, our last question. I'm going to hand the mic over to you. Please, 30 seconds, invite our FBP family back for your episode.
Well, I just wrote a new book, and it's called The Joy Choice: How to Finally Achieve Lasting Changes in Eating and Exercise. And in the book, you're going to learn some very surprising things, like why habit formation for healthy eating and exercise actually can't work for a lot of people, and other really fun and joyful strategies for engaging people in wanting to exercise and wanting to work out.
Next week's show is going to be a dynamic episode that you won't want to miss. So make sure you subscribe to the show on your favorite podcast player, or even better yet, let us do the work for you and we'll send you the show. Subscribe at fitnessbusinesspodcast.com. Thank you to our founding partner, Active Management, our partners, Keep Me, My Zone, Discover Strength, and One Fit Stop. Our advertisers, Rex Roundtables, MX Metrics, and Vapor Fresh. We believe what you leave behind is not what's engraved in stone monuments, but woven into the lives of others.